Okay, so in the previous video, we said that we had this quadratic equation or quadratic expression, right? Usually we set it equal to zero, but I mean, whatever. And what we did was like, what happens when a equals one? And what we had was the diamond method, right? But I think what most students kind of forget sometimes is what happens when a is not equal to one. Like, for example, what do I do if I have a problem that looks like this? 3x squared plus 2x minus 8. Well, there's many different ways you can do this, right? One way is trial and error, right? So you can go ahead and set up two binomials, right? And try to just figure out the coefficients of 3 and 8, right? So we know that 3 can be 3 and 1, right? So there's only one option, right? So we know that this one for sure should be 3x. It should just be an x, right? And then figure out the coefficients of 8. So we know that 8 can be 4 and 2, 8 and 1, right? So, and what we're going to try to do is try to put the numbers there so that I get a positive 2, right? So kind of like what we call kind of like the rainbow method, right? Try to figure this out, right? And you can see that the only way that we can really do this is if we have a 4 here and if we have a 2 here, right? Now, notice that in order for this to work, in order for me to get a positive 2, right? Because 3 times 2 is going to give me 6, 4 and x is going to give me 4. Well, 6x plus 4x is going to be 10x, right? So the only way to do this is to make this one negative and this one positive, because this will give me 6x and this will give me negative 4x, and I get the negative 2x. So I get that. But sometimes you're going to have some problems that are really messy, and and it's really difficult to think, because sometimes, let's say for example this was a 54, then you would have to look at a lot of different factors, right? Or if you had a number that was 1082, then it would be really difficult. So some other ways that you can do it is factoring by grouping or the box method. So let me show you the box method using the same exact trinomial. So the way that I usually do it, right, I multiply my a term times my c term, right? So I know that a equals 3 and c equals negative 8. So I'm going to multiply a times c together. So this is 3 times negative 8. And this gives me negative 24. All right. Now what I want to do, right, I want to go ahead and decompose or take this negative 24, right? I'm going to think about kind of like the diamond method as I did before, right? The number that's being multiplied is negative 24. And I'm going to try to figure out what two numbers multiply to get negative 24 and also add up to get the 2. So very similar to the way that I did before, right? And we can think about those two numbers, and we know that those numbers should only be 6 and should also be negative 4, right? Because 6 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 24. 6 plus negative 4 gives me 2, right? So the way that I'm going to do it this time, right, is I'm going to replace this. So I'm going to have the 3x squared, right? And I'm going to have the minus 8. But instead, I'm going to use these two numbers, right, to plug into the 2 that I had there, right? So I'm going to use these two numbers, right? And I'm going to have it as plus 6x minus 4x, right? So because we know that plus 6x minus 4x is going to give me positive 2x. And the way that I'm going to do this, right, I usually draw a little box. And the way that I do it is that on the corners, I'm going to have the 3x squared, and now over here I'm going to have the negative 8. And on here, on the other ones, it's going to be the terms that I just figured out, these two. So there I'm going to write this 6x, and here I'm going to have the negative 4x. So don't forget about your x's here, right? I'll write here, don't forget about x's. Forget about x. Okay, or y, or if you have a y there. Okay, and the way that we want to go ahead and do it is that we're going to try to factor this out. So we're going to factor horizontally first, right? So try to factor a number between here and here. Well, they have an x in common, so I can take out an x. And they also have a 3 in common, so I'm going to take out a 3, right? So that's the first one. Now, this, well, they have a negative, so I can take out a negative out. They have a 4, so I can take out a 4. Okay, so that works. I can take out an x. And now I'm going to go ahead and try to factor it. Oops, wrong color. I'm going to factor vertically. Well, here, notice the 3 and the negative 4. There's nothing that I can factor there, but I can factor out an x, right? That's all I can do. Here, between the 6 and the 8, the only thing I can factor out is what? A 2, right? So it's just a positive 2. And what you see in the end, what I get is two different factors. 3x minus 4, and then x plus 2, which is exactly the same thing that I had up here, right? So it's just a different type of method that we have. So let me give you another problem so that hopefully this will help clear things up. So let's say we had 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Okay, so you can pause the video and try to figure it out. If not, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So the thing that I noticed first is that this is not a 1, so I can't use a regular diamond method. So I have to do something first, right? I have to multiply the 5 times the 6 first. Okay, that's the first thing I got to do. Multiply these two things together. So now this is a 30. So now I can go ahead and use this. What two numbers multiply to get 30 and add up to get negative 17, right? So that. So after a couple of moments, I think you can think about negative 15 and positive 2, right? So negative 15 times 2 gives me 30. Negative 15 plus 2 gives me this should also be a negative. It's going to give me a negative 17. Okay, so after we have that, now we can go ahead and factor this. Well, we know we're first going to replace this negative 17, 5x squared, right? I'm going to replace it with these two numbers, right? The negative 15x. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Is it not topping? Okay, this negative 15x, this negative 2x, right? And then I'm going to have this plus, oh my God, what's going on? And then I'm going to have this plus 6, right? So I'm going to go ahead and box this, put a little box here. So what's going to go in the diagonals is going to be my 5x squared and my 6x. And what's going to go on my off diagonals, order doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what order they go. This is going to be a negative 15x, and this is going to be a negative 2x. Okay. All right, so let's see what we get. So first we're going to go ahead and factor horizontally. So here I can take out a 5, and I can take out an x, right? Here, usually what happens when you have a negative right here, you want to take that one out just so that we don't have this negative 2x there. So I'm going to take out a negative first, and then I can take out a 2. Okay, I can take out a 2 there. All right, then I'm going to do it vertically. Okay, so now I'm going to take out these vertically. Well, between the 5 and the negative 2, there's nothing that we can really take out, right? So, but I can take out an x. Here, I'm going to take out this negative, right? And then I can take out a 3 here, right? Yeah, I can take out a 3. Okay, so what am I going to left with? I'm going to be left with 5x minus 2, x minus 3. Okay, I could also write x minus 3, 5x minus 2 if I wanted to. It'll still be the same thing. Okay, so hopefully this helped a little bit, right? So remember that when this is not equal to a 1, right? So when we don't have like the problems that we had before, we multiply the first and the second term, right? Then we do the diamond thing that we did before, and then we put these two numbers with an x on the off diagonals, and the other diagonal is going to be the a and the c term. Okay, hopefully this helped.